A question that comes up a lot within the hockey community is which line is the best line in the entire NHL, and for today's video I'm going to go over 5 of the best lines in the league heading into this season. I'm not going to tell you guys what line I think is the best because then comes on the arguments and just disagreeing. I'm just going to go over 5 of the best in no particular order, so without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the video. Starting the video off with the perfection line from the Boston Bruins, David Pastrnak, Patrice Bergeron, and Brad Marchand. And when you talk about the best lines in hockey, a lot of people bring this line up as the best line in hockey, and rightfully so, because when they are all healthy and when they all are on the ice together, they are very dominant. Last year, David Pastrnak in 66 games had 38 goals and 43 assists for 81 total points, a very good point per game average. Patrice Bergeron only 65 games, 32 goals, 47 assists for 79 points. And then Brad Marchand, the one guy on the line who actually stayed healthy for the majority of the season, had 36 goals and 64 assists for 100 total points in 79 games. That gives these three a combined point total of 260 points, and that is very, very good. And if all these guys stayed healthy and stuck together for the entire season, they definitely would have been up there around the 300 combined points mark, and that would have been really crazy to see. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if all three of these guys are pushing 100 points in this up and coming season. That is how good they are, and they were a big reason why Boston was so good last year. They were 49, 24, 9, making it all the way to the Stanley Cup final before falling to the St. Louis Blues. All around, it was a fantastic year for the Boston Bruins and a very good season for this line despite all the injuries. Next up, we have a line from Tampa Bay of Nikita Kucherov, Steven Stamkos, and Andre Palat. Now, I know this wasn't their top line last season. We saw Tyler Johnson spend a lot of time with Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov, but news came out that Braden Point and Tampa Bay weren't even close on a contract just yet, so I honestly think there is a real possibility that maybe he misses the start of the season and maybe this drags a couple weeks into the year. So if I had to guess, and also from dailyfaceoff.com, they had a first line heading into the year of Kucherov, Stamkos, and Palat, and automatically with just Kuch and Stamkos, I think that makes them one of the top lines in the NHL. If we go by last year, Kucherov 128 points. It was a ridiculously amazing historic year for him. Stamkos had 98 points, 45 goals. He was unreal as well. And then I just have Palat's stats on there. Only played 64 games and had 34 total points for a combined point total of 260. They went 62, 16, and 4 last year, 128 points before getting swept in the first round. But nonetheless, it was a fantastic regular season for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I know, again, a lot of people are going to disagree because this wasn't a line last year for the most part, and it may not even be a line heading into next season, but whatever first line Tampa Bay decides to throw together, I honestly think it will be one of the top lines in the entire league. So I had to throw some combination of Tampa players into this video just because of how dominant they were on the offensive side of things last year. Moving on now, from the Calgary Flames, we have the line of Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan, and Elias Lindholm. This line was fantastic for the Flames this past season, and it was a new line because they just brought in Elias Lindholm last summer, and putting him on that top line worked out in a big way. Johnny Gaudreau led the way, played all 82 games, and had 36 goals and 63 assists for 99 points. I wish he would have cracked 100, but he'll probably do it next season. And then we have Sean Monahan, 78 games played, 34 goals, and 48 assists for 82 points, over a point per game for the first time in his career. And then we have Elias Lindholm, 81 games played, 27 goals, and 51 assists for 78 points. The best year of his career by a long shot, a massive breakout season for him. And this line really just gelled on all cylinders on the offensive end. They had a combined point total of 259 points. That is up there with some of the best lines in the entire league. And Calgary, they really thrived off this. They had a fantastic regular season, 50, 25, and 7 for 107 points. Going from not making the playoffs to winning the Western Conference, that was an amazing jump for them. Obviously, their playoffs were disappointing. They fell short in the first round to the Colorado Avalanche, but again, this was a young team. It was their first year really being a strong team in the Western Conference in a couple of years, so, you know, these are growing pains. They're still very young, and I definitely think that is something they can learn from and be better from heading into next season. And just strictly basing off the results from last year, heading into this up and coming season, this top line is definitely one of the best in the entire league. Moving on now, staying in Western Canada, we have the Winnipeg Jets top line of Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Blake Wheeler. They were fantastic this past season, but this is another top line that is kind of affected by by the RFAs because Kyle Connor is currently still without a contract, and we are a little bit into the preseason. I don't really see him missing any games. I think they will probably get him under contract to start the year. Patrik Laine, that's another story, but especially if Dustin Byfuglien does end up retiring and some of that money comes off the books, I think 100% we will see Kyle Connor start the year with the Winnipeg Jets and start on this top line that has been so good for Winnipeg over the past 2 seasons. Kyle Connor is in that spot that Patrik Laine wants, but you can't really argue results, and Kyle Connor has been fantastic on that line last year. 82 games played, 34 goals, and 32 assists for 66 points. Mark Scheifele also played all 82 and had 38 goals and 46 assists for 84 total points. And then the captain, Blake Wheeler, led the way in total points with 20 goals and 71 assists for 91 total points, a combined point total of 241. And obviously, if you have a top line this good, you're probably going to be a pretty solid team, and Winnipeg definitely was last year with a 47, 30, and 5 record for 99 total points. Now this is the line heading into next season that I'm kind of iffy about putting in here, but I'm still confident they will be very good because Blake Wheeler is a guy, I think his point total will probably come back a little bit, but then again, I think Mark Scheifele's can only go up, and same goes for Kyle Connor. So no matter what happens with Blake Wheeler and the RFA situation, I think if this line is on the ice together next year, they will once again be one of the top lines in the NHL. And now, rounding out the top 5, once again in no particular order, we have the Colorado Avalanche top line of Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Gabriel Landeskog. And this is another line that is affected by all the RFA stuff this summer because Mikko Rantanen is still currently without a contract. And news came out today, or it was last night I believe, that Mikko Rantanen and the Avs are still not really close on a deal. And to me that is a little bit confusing because it's not like they're a team that is in a cap crunch. They definitely have a lot of money to give to Rantanen, but I guess it definitely does make sense that Joe Sakic is trying to be smart with that cap space and not just throw the kitchen sink and all the cap space that they have at Mikko Rantanen. So I guess it kind of makes sense. But getting into the line, Rantanen last year, 74 games played, 31 goals, and 56 assists for 87 points. Nathan MacKinnon played all 82 and had 41 goals and 58 assists for 99 points. He's another player I really wished would have hit 100 points, but again, I think he'll probably crack it next year. And then Gabe Landeskog in 73 games, 34 goals and 41 assists for 75 points, over a point per game for the first time in his career as well. And to me, Gabe Landeskog is a really overlooked player on this team and an underrated part of this line because he really does all the dirty work. He goes in there, he gets the puck out of the corners and feeds it to Rantanen and MacKinnon, the more skilled players, so they can go put points on the board. All around, this line is basically perfect. You have the physical guy who can get into the dirty areas in Gabe Landeskog. You have the speedy, superstar Nathan MacKinnon, and then you have his wingman in Mikko Rantanen. Definitely a fun line to watch. They had 261 combined points this past season, a 38, 30, and 14 record for the Avs, finished with 90 points, squeaking into the playoffs, but then they did beat the Western Conference winning Calgary Flames in the first round. So it was a really good year for Colorado, and they definitely got a lot better this offseason. Hopefully they can get Rantanen signed, because if they do, to start the year, I think they will be one of the top teams out west. And now to finish out the video, I want to give some love to some other lines in the NHL that I think are going to be very good. We have Hyman, Tavares, Marner. I know Hyman is going to miss the start of the season, but when he is playing, I think that line is going to be very good. And then we have Johnson with Matthews and Nylander. I think they're going to be fantastic and put up a lot of points. And then in Nashville, we have Forsberg, Johansson, and Arvidsson. That might be Duchesne centering them. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do. We're just going to have to wait and see. But either way, if that's Duchesne or if it's Johansson, I think that line is going to be very strong. And then we have Huberdeau, Barkov, and Dadonov, who just missed out on making my top 5 because Huberdeau and Barkov were ridiculously good offensively this past season, and Dadonov has definitely been very good for them as well. And then you have the Ben Sagan and Radulov line, which is always going to be very good. And this isn't even mentioning some other lines, Ovechkin, Backstrom, and Tom Wilson. That is very good. Whoever Jake Gensel and Sidney Crosby play with, whoever's on the other wing, that line's going to be good. Same goes with the Draisaitl and McDavid line. Whoever's on their wing will be really good. Shen, Tarasenko, O'Reilly. The list goes on and on. There is a lot of teams that have very good lines in the NHL, but in my opinion, the ones I went in depth on are my top 5. So I'm very curious to hear what you guys think. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section below who are your top 5 lines in the NHL, or you can go further and say top 10, top 15, and just overall, who do you think is the best line in the entire NHL? So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. I hope it's not too controversial. I tried to give some love to as many lines as possible, so hopefully you guys don't get too mad at me down in the comments. And this was kind of a guessing game because we really don't know 100% what the majority of the lines will be, but for the top lines in the league, we definitely have a good idea. So with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.